which is certainly true. I'm also today, I think I'm in the harbinger, that word was used earlier, the harbinger of doom, because I think we're in a very different situation than a lot of people are recognizing. I mean, we all know these kinds of images, sprawl as far as I can see. We've been building this during the great 60-year sprawl experiment. We've heard all about that for a couple of years, and I think we all have started to understand that it does exist. We certainly have a lot of these kinds of images, and the attention that I've been seeing given this, which I think is fabulous, and I respect all of this work because I think it's really important, but it starts off with the idea that we have these places that we need to fix, and we need to find the way of making these places that have already been developed become viable again. And I do think we need a lot of that. And Ellen and June and Galina have all included sections in their book about what places should get fixed and which places shouldn't. But I think too often everybody assumes that their places are places that should get fixed. We had a recession. I think we all noticed it. Sometimes a recession is the only way you really can stop the machine of housing from working. We had the single-family homes being built was just the standard. That was what we all knew. Everyone wanted to live in a single-family home in a subdivision. We bought into this whole idea. It's what our industry did. And we've recognized that it's caused a lot of problems. Governor Cuomo, a while back, divided the state into 10 economic regions. I had the opportunity of working on the Mid-Hudson region in the Sustainability Committee. And we had a meeting with the DOT. They came in, they said the good news is we're going to be able to support 60% of the infrastructure that we have responsibility for. And I kind of raised my hand. I said, well, what about the other 40%? It was not going to be a problem because we're going to give it to the municipalities as a gift. And a lot of these places have this kind of a setup where it's a place that's so far out, it's actually, it's in the farmland. Here's a quick image of part of Westchester. Armonk is a nice little village, and you start going out these state roads, and we're recognizing, well, those state roads are now going to become the responsibility of Armonk to be trying to maintain, and I don't think they have the money. Now, Chuck Marone's made a real great presentation on this whole issue of how subdivisions have been the kind of Ponzi scheme. You build the new one to pay for the old one as you're replacing the infrastructure, and he's made an excellent case of how actually it doesn't work, it doesn't pay for itself. Certain communities where you've truly got big mansions, these people can probably get together and say, you know what we're going to do? We're going to create an HOA, and we'll take over the responsibility of that 2 miles of road to get us back into town. But most of the places that we see are not that. And even though these homes in Westchester will sell for $850,000, these are people who are surviving on a shoestring. They are so invested in all of these things that they have to do to maintain this lifestyle. That they don't have any money to do that kind of a thing, and their homes are going to devalue. A lot of this comes from the change that we went through in the 50s when we invented the nuclear family and said everybody needs to live in a single-family house. These are some slides that were stolen by one of the gentlemen in the audience. From him, so I'm getting credit there. But they make the point great. 25% of households are the married couple with families. We're in a baby boom. We're all aging. 82 million of us. We're wanting to move back in, while the millennials are wanting to move out. And you look at the convergence of those two, and you've got this tremendous population of people who don't want to be moving into those subdivisions. They want to be moving downtown. So at the same time, you got everybody talking about how important it is that we're going to figure out how to fix these subdivisions, and they're becoming more and more expensive from a tax basis. We also have a lot of people saying, but I don't want to live there. So I think we're going to need to develop triage methodologies, protocols for how we're going to survive from the Great Sprawl experiment. We're going to need to differentiate between those places that no matter how much we put into them, they will never be viable. They will never be sustainable. We're also going to need to decide those places are going to have to tough it out. You got enough good bones. You guys suck it up and make it work so that we can take our limited resources and put them into those places where it'll really make a difference. And one of the first things I think we're going to have to start dealing with is recognizing that we do not control this climate. We do not control this earth. The earth is a very powerful place, and sometimes things change. Technologies change. trends change, and you end up. We've got this great imagery from our history of the Old West, where ghost towns, it had the silver mine, and then it petered out, so it's not there anymore. And of course, we've already heard about Braddock, where it was a very industrious city, the first U.S. steel plant, I think, and now it's a very different place, despite the efforts of Mr. Futterman. And what we're dealing with is this idea. I think it may have started, I targeted it as 1954 when we added the words "under God" to the Pledge of Allegiance, and we somehow got this concept that everything that's been happening has been moving to this point that the 60s and 70s, it's like, we control the world. We're humans. We have the power of reason. So we are being protected because we've got these people who are looking out for us and making sure everything's going to all work out right. But if you listen to Jim Kunstler, and if you go back and listen to some of George Carlin's brilliant presentations, you realize that we're just one of the species here on Earth, and we've been doing some stuff that's really stupid. One of the problems I have is the argument about climate change. Okay, there's a whole bunch of people saying we are irresponsible, we're damaging the environment, we're doing all these bad things to it, and you have the other people saying, you know what, we don't have to sweat it, it's going to be just fine, everything's going to work out. I don't think the Earth cares, one way or the other, about what we're doing. It's just going to happen. And when we make those mistakes, as that margarine commercial said, it's not nice to try and fool Mother Nature. There's a diagram here on the left, which is what I think a lot of people have bought into. I think the diagram on the right is much more what we are actually in. And, there have been species on Earth that have not really listened to the message, and they haven't turned out great. And as George Carlin says, the Earth might shake us off like a bad case of fleas. But I think if we make a lot of effort, we might be able to sustain a little longer. Now, these are some images that I like to show. The one on the top left is this sign has sharp edges. Do not touch the edges of this sign. Also, the bridge is out ahead. I've been guaranteed that this is a real sign, but it is so often what the feeling I get when I'm going into meetings. We're talking about really desperate situations in communities, and we've got a board of trustees who are talking about things that absolutely do not matter. They don't even understand what the issues are, but they know their rules and they're going to follow them. And the process often becomes this sign, this image on the right, which is that no matter what direction you're going, there's somebody who steps up and says, you know what? That we have a problem with that. We don't like this. So you find that there's no direction that you can go. The slide on the left bottom, that's the charting of the use of the word sustainable. You can see that, we kind of get sustainable maybe in a couple of places in an article, eventually once per page, eventually once per sentence, and then eventually where every sentence is just the word sustainable repeated over and over and over again. We talk about these things, but we have to start actually doing it. And our problems with communication, we all think we understand what everybody is saying and what they're doing. It's windy today. No, it's Thursday. So am I. Let's have a beer. We have to embrace it. Last night, Andreas, I made a great presentation. He actually went around pretending that he didn't know what he was going to talk about, and I can't buy it because what he came in and actually said was phenomenal. And it's so much the idea that we have to understand that the younger generation, the 20s and 30s, are going to be driving the ship, and we need to be listening to what they have to say. And we need to be, that's going to be the only way that we work our way out of this. And maybe we can actually stay here a little bit longer and, get where we actually can have a place that's worth living in. So thank you.